Hey everyone, I'm Lizfairy and today I'm going to show you how to complete these crochet horse and centaur dolls. This video is the fourth part, where I show you how to make the legs. If you missed the first parts of this series, you can find a playlist in the description below. If you like, you can find the written pattern for these horse dolls or for my centaur dolls in my Ravelry store, or also in the description. Now let's continue where we left off in the last video. I finished sewing the hole at the bottom closed. Now I need to create the horse's legs. But before I do that, I'm going to add a bit more fiberfill to the body of my doll, through the leg holes. And now I'm going to bend the leg wires to match where I want to place the joints of the legs. I'll bend the top to widen the stance of each leg. Then I'll bend the knee, the ankle, and the foot. For the front legs, I'll bend the knees back, and for the back legs, I'll bend the knees forward. Then to begin the legs, I'm going to work a row of single crochet into the stitches that I skipped when I was making the leg hole, into each chain that I marked, and into each stitch that I marked on either side of the skipped stitches. If you like, you don't need to work directly into these stitches. You could simply start with a chain that's the same width as the leg hole, slip stitch to join in a ring, and work the leg on that foundation. Then sew the leg onto the leg hole after finishing. But I'm going to work directly onto the stitches of the leg hole, so that I don't have to sew the legs on. This will also give the doll a cleaner finish. So I'm going to pull up a loop into the first of the 7 skipped stitches of the leg hole, and I'm going to chain 1, and that'll count as the first stitch. Then I'm going to single crochet into the remaining 6 skipped stitches. Alright, I've gotten to the end of the skipped stitches. Next I'll single crochet into the next marked stitch that I already worked into after the skipped stitches. Then I'll single crochet into each of the 4 chains that I marked. And then single crochet into the next marked stitch that I already worked into on the other side of my skipped stitches. And that will complete the first row of the leg. Next I'm going to add rows of single crochet until I get to about where I want to place the knee. I'm going to go on for 6 more rows before making the knee, but you can go on for as many rows as you like. Okay, I've finished with 6 more rows of single crochet. Now to make the knee, I need to add some increases to the front where I want the knee to go. I'm going to increase the front 2 times per row, but at the same time, I don't want my doll's legs to get any wider while I make the knee, so to keep it the same size, I'm also going to decrease the back of the knee 2 times per row. If you want your doll to have thicker legs, you can just increase the front of the work to create the knee and don't decrease at the back. So first, I'm going to do my first decrease at the back. I'll do my second decrease at the back at the end of the row. Then I'm going to single crochet until I reach the front where I'm going to increase 2 times. Alright, I've gotten to the front. I'm going to increase twice. And now I'm going to single crochet until I reach the back where I'm going to decrease 1 more time. Then I'm going to do that for one more row, but you can go on for as long as you like until the bulge at the knee is big enough, or if you like, you can just stop at one row. Okay, I've finished with 2 rows, increasing the front and decreasing the back 2 times each. As you can see, the leg bulges a little at the front. Now I'm going to decrease 2 times per row at the front to finish the knee. But I want my doll's legs to be even thinner, so I'm going to also decrease the back of the leg 2 times per row. But if you like, you could leave out the decreases if the leg is already a good width. So I'm just going to do 1 row, decreasing the front twice and the back twice. But you could continue for more rows if you want to thin the leg out even more. Alright, I've finished decreasing the front and decreasing the back. Next I'm going to add a little bit of fiberfill to the top of the leg. Next I'm going to continue to single crochet for 4 more rows to lengthen the legs before making the ankle, but you can continue to single crochet until you have the length that you want. Now I've done 4 more rows of single crochet. Now to make the ankle, I need to add some increases to the back, where I want the ankle to go. I'm going to increase the back 2 times per row, so I'll increase the first 2 stitches of the row, Then I'm going to single crochet until the end of the row. I'm going to do that for one more row, but you can go on for as long as you like until the bulge at the ankle is big enough. Or if you like, you can just stop at one row. Alright, I finished with 2 rows increasing at the back of the leg for the ankle. Now I'm going to decrease 2 times per row at the back to finish the ankle. So I'm going to go on for 2 rows, decreasing at the back twice. Now I'm going to widen the bottom of the leg slightly. You don't have to do this if you want the legs of your doll to be more straight and narrow. Just continue to single crochet until your doll's legs are the right length, and end the row with a slip stitch in that case. But to widen the leg, I'm going to increase 2 times per row, once at the back and once at the front, until the bottom of the legs is the width I want for the hooves. I'm going to go on for 2 rows, but you can go on for as long as you like to get the width you need. So I finished with 2 more rows, increasing the front of the leg and the back 1 time per row, and now the leg is wide enough. Now I'm going to end the row, so I'm just going to slip stitch to the next stitch, then I'm going to cut off a long tail so I can use that to sew the hoof on later. Next I'm going to add some more fiberfill to the leg. And now I'm just going to repeat the same thing on the opposite side to create the other front leg. Alright, as you can see, I've completed the other front leg. Now I'm going to create the back legs in almost exactly the same way. Except when I do the knee for the back leg, I'll place the bulge for the knee at the back of the leg instead of at the front. Alright, I've worked the back leg up to the knee, so in the first 2 rows of the knee, I'll increase 2 times at the back and decrease 2 times at the front to make the knee bulge at the back of the leg. Then for the last row of the knee, I'll decrease 2 times at both the back and the front. And the rest of the leg is going to be exactly the same as the front leg. Next, I'm going to create the hooves. I'm going to start with a magic circle with 7 stitches of single crochet instead of 6. I'm going to do this the same way that I did the magic circle to begin the head in part 1 of this series, except that there'll be 7 stitches total rather than 6. So I'm going to single crochet 6 more times into the loops after I chain 1 for the first stitch. I'm starting the circle with 7 stitches instead of 6 so that I can get more stitches in fewer rows. If I had started with 6 stitches instead, I would have to increase for 2 rows for there to be more stitches in the bottom of the hoof than in the bottom of the leg. If I start with 7 stitches, I only need to increase for 1 row to have a greater amount of stitches. But if you like, you could start with 6. It doesn't make that big of a difference, especially for a larger doll. For a smaller doll though, you might even want to start your magic circle with even more stitches, so that you need fewer rows to reach the same size as the legs. Now I'm going to increase every stitch of the next row. First I'm going to find the chain that counts as the first stitch, and into that stitch I'm going to increase. So single crochet 2 times into that stitch, then single crochet 2 into every other stitch of the row. You can continue to increase until the bottom of the hoof is a bit wider than the bottom of the legs. In the next row you would increase every second stitch, then in the next row every third stitch, then every fourth stitch in the next, and so on. I'm just going to increase for this one row. Alright, I've gotten to the end of one row of increase. Now I'm going to create a row of single crochets into the back loops only, so that there will be a line of loops around the base of the hoof. So leave the front loop open and single crochet onto each back loop of the row. Okay, I finished with my row in the back loops. If you like, you could continue to add rows of single crochet to lengthen the hoof, particularly if you're making a larger doll, before narrowing the width of the top of the hoof to the same width as the bottom of the leg. But I'm just going to begin to narrow the size of the hoof next. To narrow the top of the hoof, I'm going to decrease 2 times at the front per row of decrease. Then I'm going to do 1 row without decreases. I'm just going to do this 1 time, but if you like, you could continue to repeat the pattern of 1 row of 2 decreases and then 1 row of normal single crochet until the width of the hoof reaches a similar size to the bottom of the leg. So I'm going to continue to single crochet until I get to the front where I'm going to decrease 2 times. Then single crochet until the end of the row. And then I'm going to single crochet for 1 more row. If you like, you could continue to single crochet if you want to make your hooves a little longer, but I'm just going to end my hoof at the end of this row. To end the work, I'm going to slip stitch to the next stitch, then I'm going to cut off my yarn. And I'm going to sew in this end. And now I'm going to make 3 more so that I have a total of 4. Now I've finished making all 4 of my doll's hooves. Now I need to sew the hooves to the bottoms of each leg. First I'll place the wire loop at the end of the wire leg into the hoof. Then I'll add a little fiberfill to the hoof on top of the wire. And then I'll sew the hoof to the leg using the long tail at the end of the leg. Now I'm finished with the body of my horse doll. There's a ton of ways that you could customize this design. You could use color changes to make different types of horses. You could even make a zebra. If you want to see how I made the mane and tail of my horse doll, you can find that video in the description below. Or if you want to see the technique I used to make this fiery mane and tailed ponyta from Pokemon, you can find that link too. If you use any of these techniques to make a horse or centaur doll of your own, I'd love to see your interpretation. You can find all my social media links in the description below. And if you'd really like to help out the channel, you can donate to my Patreon. You can get some pretty cool perks through Patreon, like seeing my videos early, access to some of my prototype patterns, and discounts in my Ravelry store, depending on your level of donation. You can find out more about that at patreon.com/fairyrings. You could also subscribe and click the bell icon, so you don't miss the next video, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!